Delighted to say I'm joined by Kieran Mannion, and a Galway native living out in Shanghai. He's people will know his brothers Cathal and Padraic Mannion, who won All Ireland title with Galway in 2017. Kieran, can you just kind of give me a background of what's life been like in Shanghai for the last 4 or 5 months, or when did you get an indication that life as we know was going to change?
Hey Shane. Yeah, well, I think it was around Chinese New Year, which for people who don't know, it was around the middle of January. So there's a 2 week holiday over here for Chinese New Year, and it's essentially like our Christmas in Ireland, where everyone gets off and is on holidays, and you get 2 weeks off. So around that time, there was kind of things coming out that the virus was going on, and then myself and my wife, we went back to our in-laws' house, and then the news came out. So essentially, we're just bunkered down there for like 4 days, couldn't leave the house. And then incidentally, the reason we came back to Shanghai so soon was because we have a cat here and there was nobody to look after a cat. So we had to come back to Shanghai. And then essentially for 4 weeks after that, from around towards the end of January, we've just been in the apartment. Now things beginning to open up kind of the last 2 to 3 weeks in terms of restaurants, bars, all that kind of stuff is opening up. But there was about a 4 week period. I think everyone in Ireland is probably going through the exact same thing right now. So essentially, what people were going through in Ireland, we were going through over here. But it was about whenever 3 to 4 weeks ago.
And people have this kind of idea here that the government in China might be a bit more authoritarian, that people would very much listen and kind of, if they're told to do something, they'll very much do it, whereas it might be a little bit different in Ireland. Is that a fair reflection of reality there?
I think it's probably fair. Probably there's a little bit of a misunderstanding in that for many people, China is this kind of faraway place, and it's something that seems so far away. And you hear stories and things in the news, but probably the reality is maybe slightly different. So generally, people over here take their lead from the government. So the government kind of made out how serious this case was, and people just decided themselves. It wasn't as if I couldn't leave my apartment, or if I left the apartment, like some soldiers there and he's telling me to go back up. Like, it was a bit more relaxed than that. Like, I could leave the apartment here and I could go for a cycle or a walk if I wanted to. But generally, it seemed that people took a lot of kind of personal responsibility themselves to just stay in the apartment. And there's probably a bit of fear from maybe that SARS kind of thing, which happened over 15 years ago, and that's kind of in people's memories. And I don't know, is there something here? People are very cautious, like more so than in Ireland. I don't know. They immediately, when the kind of call came to that this was happening, people just said, "Okay, I'm in the apartment. That's it." Where in Ireland, I think our psychology is quite different, and that's probably the reason. Now, I don't want to get into any depth about it because I don't know why that is, but it just my kind of what you notice over here.
We're probably still waiting for the surge to happen here at the moment. Of course, people are sadly losing their lives, whereas the likes of Italy and Spain have been, torn asunder in recent days. How bad did it get there? Like, how tough was it for you to deal with being isolated for a long period of time? I mean, and how did that even manifest itself? Well, at the moment, if I wanted to, I can go outside, I can go for a walk, do my shopping. What was it like for you?
Um, Probably similar enough to you guys. Like, you just stay in the apartment now. I'm with my wife here and our beloved cat as well. But if I was on my own now, I'd have maybe struggled slightly more. Here, we didn't even go out to shop that much, in that there's so many deliveries and you get everything delivered to your house. If you want like milk or something, you just get it delivered and it's quite cheap. So we never had to leave to get any food or anything like that. It was always delivered downstairs and we just go down and pick it up. But like, similar to what you guys are going through, like, my wife doesn't mind being in the apartment as much, but I was kind of getting a few days like cabin fever, and I just had to get out and I just go for a cycle or go for a walk or something. But no massive difference to Ireland, I would say. Maybe some people think that we're being like forced to be in the house or whatever, but it's not really like that. I mean, your psychology depends on your personality, but I kind of struggled to be inside a lot. And I was trying to create routines of like things to do every day just to keep my mind, going. And I'm sure everyone is going through. I'm sure you're going through that yourself. That you just kind of struggle with the routine, and it's easy to sleep in every day and stuff like that. And so, just kind of urge anybody, if you do have a bit of spare time, try and use it in some sort of positive way and stay off. I went through a phase here of a week where you're just looking at the news all the time, and it's just not good for your psychology. So look at the news for half an hour and then kind of do something if possible. That would be my kind of advice to everybody. It's obviously easier said than done. And some people are probably not in a position where they can just say, okay, I'm going to do that or whatever, or learn a language, or learn an instrument, or get fit, or yoga, or whatever it may be. But generally, say whatever you guys are going through, probably I was going through it about 4 weeks ago, I would say.
So Wuhan was the epicenter and the beginning of this. I suppose everyone kind of the general consensus is that it was a wet market in Wuhan that started it all. Maybe a pangolin or something like that transferred it onto a human. But how quickly did it spread to you? How big was the spread of the infection in Shanghai compared to Wuhan?
So I think in Shanghai, I'm not sure the exact numbers, but the amount of cases in Shanghai were about 300 or 400, which was quite small. Like there's about 25 million people or more here living in Shanghai. So that's really, really small number. Now, I don't know how accurate that is, or that's obviously the number of confirmed cases, and the probably real number of cases are probably slightly more. So it never got hold here. And I think that's why the government put in those kind of big measures in Wuhan. They just closed it down because like the population here is outrageously huge. You can't even imagine. So they really, really just cut down everything and make sure Wuhan was kind of isolated. It's hard to, it's kind of weird in a way that it feels like it's so long ago that this was going on, because everything's kind of opening up now. But I never remembered a time where we're like there's cases in Shanghai or whatever. But there was some apps. I know the government put out an app, and you could kind of see where the cases were in a city. And I remember a few days like looking at the app, and you could see that someone from an apartment block a kilometer away, for example, had it or whatever. And you're thinking, oh, this could come close enough to us now. But like I can't ever remember getting massively worried that it was right around me or anything. But and then I think that kind of comes into like people were just not going outside. That everyone was just staying in their apartment. And I go out for a walk at night, maybe like 9 or 10, and you might see one person in a city of 25 million people. It's just the way people just hunker down and just said we got to get through this, and that's what happened.
What, like you mentioned the app there, and one of the criticisms of the government here at the start was that it would be said there was a case in the east of the country and it was so vague, and if people wanted the information, so if it was close to them they could lock themselves away. What other sort of technological innovations have happened? Because I've seen a video from some Tyrone man, maybe in Jiangsu or some city like that, I might have pronounced it wrong, where people are going into a shopping centre and it's like a little gun that just tests your temperature on the way into the shopping centre. Have you seen stuff like that?
Oh, like every shop, restaurant, metro here, every one of them have them. So I don't know, are they required by law, or have the government put in a policy to do that? But everyone has it. So I go into a shop and someone is at the door and they just like take my temperature, and you maybe have to write down your phone number and your name. And I think that's just for tracking. Now, I'm not sure how accurate those things are, if I'm honest, because I was actually in the metro just today and it said my temperature was like 33 or something. I was thinking that's maybe a bit low, but I'm not sure how accurate they are, but they're everywhere. Everyone has them. I'm not sure, the usual kind of things where they're putting stuff on social media. And there seems to be a big thing here where like most people will live in a kind of compound. So it's maybe a 15 to 20 buildings of apartment blocks, and there'll be gateways into them. So, and then there'll be kind of a community thing where a community person will come to your door and they'll take your temperature, ask you where you came from. So I think those kind of initiatives, like very community-based stuff, which you can kind of see going on in Ireland as well, I think. I don't think there's massive, not that I could see, I'm sure there is, but I didn't see massive other things in terms of that. But definitely the temperature things going on, leaflets up everywhere. Everyone is wearing a mask here, which may be slightly different to Ireland. Everyone is wearing them. You have to wear them if you won't be allowed in anywhere if you don't have a mask on.
Yeah, it's kind of. Yeah. What about in terms of the GAA community over there? Is there, like, are you still currently part of a GAA club? Like, you would have played obviously with your club, and you were on Galway teams underage. So, are you still an active member of GAA club over there?
Yeah, so there's no hurling over here, unfortunately for me, but I played a bit of football as well at home. So it's mainly football we play here. So we have a team in Shanghai. We have a men's team and a women's team. I'd be the coach last year. I was doing most of the coaching for the men's team last year. Generally, as you can imagine, you're in a massive city, and like there's a team maybe about a half an hour train ride away, but then there's a 2-hour flight north, which is Beijing, and Hong Kong is like a 2-hour flight south. So you're kind of always struggling to get games. So generally the structure is there'll be 2 or 3 competitions per year, and we'll try and base our training around that, or trying to like peak, if you want to. Well, I don't know, is it that scientific? But we're trying to like train towards those competitions. But yeah, I mean, like the numbers are pretty big. We had coming up to some of the games last year, there was maybe 30 men and near 30 women training. Which was massive. There's quite a lot of mid-20s teachers coming over to international schools here, and we've one school in particular that is, I'd say they have about 25 players or 20 players in the one school. So it's kind of thriving at the minute for sure, a club.
When you were like, when news first came through of the outbreak in China, I presume you got onto your family and you were telling them, look, this thing is spreading here, and word is it's going to be a pandemic or spread around the world. Did it, at first, when you were trying to tell people at home about this, were they believing that this could actually reach them in Ireland?
I don't know really. I was definitely said it to them. I don't think they believed it. No. Maybe my mum took it a bit serious. Certainly my brothers. You're young and they're like tunnel vision about whatever they're doing or training or whatever. And this is because it seems so far away. But then I suppose you see it go to Italy, and I think when it goes to Italy, people really, because it's in Europe, people really kind of take notice then. But no, I don't think there was a massive. They weren't very aware of it for sure, because China seems so far away, doesn't it? So that's probably the reason. But we're trying to warn them. I was pretty well. What do you do different? Really, you're trying to tell your family what can they do different. People have to work. I suppose you can wash your hands more. Really, is the key thing. But when people are not aware around you, then it's very hard for you to be to do anything different. Really, so that was really it.
So your brother Padraic was quoting before that if injuries hadn't hit you, that you would have been winning All Ireland in 2017 as well. Can you give us a rundown of your sort of hurling history? And I'm sure you'll be modest about it, but you were part of the Galway
I
fans.
think that sounds pretty good. That's like a pub story now, to be honest. Like I really kind of don't like that. But yeah. So I just, as I said to you earlier, my knees look like made of biscuits. But I injured my right knee when I was about 16, pretty bad, and they couldn't operate on it because I think I'd have whatever. I was young, and I have slightly my leg was slightly misaligned, so they didn't want to operate. And then I went to the gym and I got it back, and then I got on the Galway minor panel, and I was playing. It was actually the day my leaving cert finished, and we were playing, I think, a minor game or something, and I just twist my knee again and done a lot of damage, and had to ended up getting about 5 operations on it, and a good few screws and plates in my right knee. So then I got back from that, and then I got back playing again, and then playing football, jumped up, and then because you're kind of compensating, would come down my left leg and do my cruciate in my left as well, and then had to go for that. So just this kind of like a build up over time, and thrown in with that was a lot of broken fingers and pins and hands and stuff like that, and I suppose a few people said that I wouldn't get back playing again, so I'm even happy that I'm able to play a bit out here. Do you know what I mean? That was the reason why. And this, you just see kind of the volume of training is the key. I just couldn't do it, and when you're young as well, and 18, and I just went to college, and I didn't have the support around, so like I don't know what I was doing. Looking back, and it's kind of embarrassing, to be honest, what I was doing, but. Trying to get back, and I hadn't a clue what I was doing, and like no physio support and no strength and conditioning support, and I wish I kind of knew then what I know now. But look, it's all good, and it's only a minor thing, and you see what people are going through now. Sure, it's like it's nothing,
Very
to be
true.
honest.
At the same time, who were you on Galway minor teams with? Who would have been the big players on those panels?
So it would have been Joe Canning and Aidan Hart were the same age as me. So they ended up getting to it was 2006. Ended up getting to 2006. I think they got to a final against Tipperary, and it was the Tipperary team where Brendan Maher and Padraic Maher and all them were 17. We'll say it was that year. I actually remember. I think Padraic Maher got man of the match in that game. But my dad actually wheeled me. I was after getting operations, so my dad actually wheeled me down the road in a wheelchair. I watched the match from a wheelchair up in. Yeah, and there's a club mate of ours, Larry Tully. Larry Tully. He was playing wing back that day, so the two of us were kind of on it together, and he was wing back, and I watched on the wheelchair. So it was kind of different fortunes, but
And not quite the way you planned it. Did you always know that that Padraic and Cathal would be pushing for Galway, like to wear the jersey someday?
Yeah, well, probably Cahill a bit more. I mean, Porrick probably won't like me hearing that, but all the way up along, Cahill's skill was outrageous, and Porrick kind of like me, he suffered quite a few injuries, and he was a bit different. Like Cahill was always very athletic in terms of his speed, and it was very obvious in his skill. So he was always, I think, going to make it. But Porrick was a bit had to kind of fight a bit more to get to the level. I think he had the skill, had the speed, but just kind of struggled with injuries, particularly when he was around 19 or 20. And but he's a very, very psychologically strong, so he was able to, get through that. And he kind of has it. He's very mentally strong. Porrick is. So I think that's what got him really, really to the top. But sir, I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't have any talent. He'll watch this now and he'll go crack to me. But of course, he's massive talent as well. But I mean, look, when we were going up, all our time was spent out hitting the ball against the walls. I'm sure you were doing the same, and that's all they're doing. So you hear about all this like 10,000 hour stuff, which I don't know how relevant that is, but in terms of like how many hours you'd spend out hitting the ball. And even I go home now, that's what we do. We'll just go out in the tarmac, whatever, just hit the ball around. That's kind of like it's relaxation in a way.
Absolutely, very cathartic. And then I suppose finally, what was I going to ask you? I had some. Oh yeah, so for the All Ireland runs, I mean, you're a teacher out there, so you were able to make it back for the All Ireland semi final and the replay, I think, but you didn't actually make the final in 2017, was it?
Yeah, so I'm not sure. So I'm kind of I know I didn't make any of the All Irelands, but there was one. I think it was the one in 2018 against Limerick, where I had to go back like maybe the Friday before the game. I could have pushed. I could have maybe got it off. I didn't try very hard in a way I should have, but certainly the game they won. They won in 2017. I was back maybe 2 weeks before. But generally, what happens is, with holidays, I come home for the summer, and then I usually get the quarterfinal and semi-final, and then have to come back for work, whatever. But it's the way it goes. I watch on GAA Go, whatever.
Yeah, you make do. Just a couple of more questions then about the COVID-19 before I finish up. The effect on the Irish economy is that a lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of companies have just been able to push pause, I suppose, on their company, and hopefully once things pick up, everything will be able to go back to normal. What was the effect on the economy and businesses, certainly in the Shanghai area?
I mean, I kind of can't speak for a lot of them, but I mean, you're talking about bars, restaurants being closed for 4, 5, 6 weeks. So I'd imagine the effect is huge. Now, I've a friend here, an American friend, and he has a kind of a kindergarten here, and schools haven't opened yet. I mean, it's fine for me because we're teaching online, but he has his own kindergarten and he's running it, and he hasn't been open for 8 weeks probably. So I think for someone like that, really, really struggling. And I think in Ireland we're probably lucky in that there's massive kind of social security payments to people, but it's not the same over here. There wouldn't be the same level of social security and stuff like that, payments. So it's very much people are kind of on their own a bit. So there's a big push now, I think, for people to get open here, but everyone is kind of very apprehensive that it'll come back, and if it comes back and things have to close again, I think then it'll really kind of test everyone. I don't know the figures here about people losing their jobs because maybe the figures aren't thrown out there openly, but I would imagine a lot of people have lost their jobs here, similar to every other country that this virus has gone to.
Have there been any sort of unintended consequences of this? A lot of people losing their jobs, so obviously you'd imagine there are mental kind of effects from that, or whatever it might be, psychological impacts or whatever. Have you seen that sort of thing, unintended consequences?
I haven't seen too much of a change, to be honest. Now, I think a reason for that is because you're kind of in your own little world here. Like you don't be seen as for that 4 weeks where we were kind of quarantined and not leaving the house. Members, you don't see too many people, and then a lot of the people who all my friends mostly were all either gone to like Thailand or Vietnam or traveling around or back in Ireland. So I didn't see anything massive like that. But as I said to you at the start, I think the psychology here is slightly different, and people would have this psychology here that they're doing this for the greater kind of the good. It's we have to do this. Where I think in Ireland probably the psychology is a little bit different, where we're more where it's more, people are more individual. They're thinking like, how is this affecting me? Where people here are more broad in their thinking. So I didn't see any massive. I'm sure there has been. I mean, like, it's a massive country, massive population. So I'm sure there's been massive unintended consequences. Maybe they're happening, but I'm not hearing about them. Could be another issue, you know.
And then just a final thing, what sort of things have you seen, like basically from the leadership in China, people in general, society overall, that you look at Ireland at the moment and think, are you doing that right? Or here's something that Ireland needs to be doing. Is there anything that you're worried about that's happening in Ireland that people should change? I mean, it's a very broad question, kind of putting you on the spot.
Sure.
But if something twigs with you, let us know.
I kind of feel reluctant because, I mean, the best thing you can do in a way is just listen to all the medical advice. But just one thing from people here, the way they dealt with it, in that they dealt with it in a way that we have to do this. We have to get through it. It'll take 4 or 5 weeks. Hunker down and we do it. But as I said to you, that may be a psychology thing. But just if kind of everybody does their part, and I could see it here. You know, you're talking about a country of 1.3 or 4 billion people, and the way they could get rid of it. I know the governments are slightly different, but I think it's also down to the people just taking responsibility and just doing it. And I by all accounts and everything I'm seeing and talking to my family, like, everyone is doing an unbelievable job in Ireland to curb this, and much better than some other places. So who am I to say what to do different, really, you know?
Okay, well, you've been very good with your time, Kieran. I appreciate it, and best of luck to you over there.
No hassle. Thanks, Shane.